Let's talk about the difference between MTHFR C677t and MTHFR A1298c. I see so many times people, they have homozygous or heterozygous A1298c and they think they just need methyl donors. Like that's where they go to, and their doctor really didn't explain, or their practitioner, or whoever they're seeing, or they just got a random genetic report, or they're going to a practitioner online that just gives them these AI generated reports. So they are not the same. They don't act the same. And I want to share what you need to do with both of them. So MTHFR C677t is the one that everybody talks about. That's the mother effer gene. And that is the one that means really basically avoid folic acid. Your body is unable to convert folic acid into active methylfolate. And so if you are heterozygous, so plus minus, that means your enzyme is working about 30% slower. So it doesn't mean you can't have any folic acid, which I definitely would avoid all processed food, whether you have the MTHFR gene or not. It is very beneficial to drop the toxic food and eat whole foods, clean foods that does not have synthetic folic acid in it, or synthetic anything, or pesticides and chemicals and all of these things. So whether you have MTHFR or not, it's best to avoid processed foods. So when somebody has the C677T, heterozygous, so plus minus, it's about 30% less efficient at converting folic acid to folate. Now, if you are plus plus, so homozygous, that means you're about 60 to 70% slower. So that folic acid is going to become toxic and build up quicker. And what also happens is, because you can't convert the folic acid into the active form, you stop methylating well. And I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go over what methylation looks like and where we see these two different genes in the methylation cycle. And A1298c actually works more in the urea cycle. So beyond that, with MTHFR C677T and avoiding folic acid, that is all you know. That's all you know. It does not mean you need methyl donors. And I have a whole video on that called The Problem with MTHFR Testing. And the basis of it is you can have MTHFR and it's not active. So if you look at your homocysteine, you can have optimal homocysteine levels. So optimal is between 6 to 7.2. You could also have a COMT or an MAOA or an MAOB mutation. Try saying that really quickly. It's tongue teaser. So you can have these other mutations that make it so that your brain doesn't want methyl donors. So your detox pathways may need methyl donors and your brain may hate methyl donors. So that's like somebody, well, actually, I don't need a lot of methyl donors and my brain doesn't like them either. But there are people who their detox pathways need methyl donors. Their brain doesn't like methyl donors. You can also see that the other way. Their brain likes methyl donors and their detox pathways do not want methyl donors. So there's also a mutation called CBS, an enzyme called CBS. And if you have a mutation there, then that enzyme will work too quickly. And then if you add methyl donors, you will actually make it like it's like a hole in a bucket. You start pouring methyl donors in and everything pours out into something called transsulfuration. And then your ammonia levels get really high because you are priming this sulfur producing pathway. And that then taxes the ammonia cycle. And if you then compound that with an MTHFR A1298c mutation, your ammonia levels get even higher. And if you have something like Lyme or Prevotella or hydrogen sulfide SIBO, and you're on one of those low carb, high sulfur diets, well, your ammonia is going through the roof. And eventually you will feel like crap as it starts to overflow and overload. And it's not like a direct correlation like you're having a histamine response. It's an overtime buildup and it's an overtime detox. So let's take a look. I'm going to share my screen. Let's make sure I have the right thing open here. And we're going to look at where these genes are in methylation. I'm just not the greatest at finding the share button. Okay. So this is a beautiful diagram from a Mosaic's organic acids test, which is one of my foundation labs. I always do organic acids, a full blood panel, and genetics with my clients because it gives us a full picture. You cannot understand your genetics. You can't know whether MTHFR is active without blood work. You don't see the entire puzzle with all the pieces. So when I'm working with clients, I always start with oats, genetics, blood work. And this diagram is on the organic acids test. And it's an overview of methylation. It's not showing your pathways. If you want to see what yours looks like, then you need a Genova methylation panel. And I always like to wait on that. So I have a whole video on the Genova methylation panel on my YouTube channel. But I don't start with that. I run the oats, the genetics, the blood work, start there. And then if needed, if I see something like a CBS mutation, then I will run the methylation panel. But these give us a really good amount of information. And Mosaic actually just redid their oats test in January and incorporated these really beautiful diagrams. It's probably the nicest diagram of methylation, transsulfuration, and the urea cycle that I've seen in 10 years. And it's pretty, and they like picked colors that I love. So that was perfect. And I love them at Mosaic. I've been working with them now for 10 years. And my Carolyn is just, she's the best. She is. Okay, so when we're looking at MTHFR C677t, it is going to be having more of an action on your homocysteine. It raises your homocysteine, and it affects your body's ability to convert homocysteine into methionine. So your body does it through two different ways. It's either going to go up through BHMT, which again, when you're looking at an ancestry test, you're going to see this mutation also. Just getting MTHFR from your practitioner is like this tiny little piece of this puzzle. And this is not even your neurotransmitter cycle or anything like that. This is just a tiny piece of the puzzle. So it goes through MTHFR and it goes through MTR and MTR. Now, if you have, mutations on all of these, your homocysteine is likely going to be quite elevated. You can have elevated homocysteine and not have any of these mutations because you are not getting enough nutrients from your diet, which is very common. But normally people are going to have one or more of these mutations that is causing their homocysteine to be elevated. And here we have that CBS mutation. And when this is upregulated, when you have mutations here, it actually causes your homocysteine to be low. So it's why homocysteine is so important to get along with all of these other labs. So MTHFR C677t, it really drives homocysteine high if you have one or two mutations. And the A1298c has more of an effect on converting BH2 to BH4. And when there is a problem with BH2 to BH4, then what we end up seeing is the urea cycle, which is recycling ammonia, slows down. Now, the other thing that A1298c does is when BH4 goes down, we need two molecules of BH4. We need molecules of BH4 to make our neurotransmitters, so dopamine and serotonin. So when we're not getting enough BH4, we also start to see a lot of mental health type issues because not only of the ammonia itself being toxic, ammonia causes a lot of brain fog and fatigue and heaviness, and it's characterized by like a cat pee smell. You'll often smell like cat pee. Or onions, like very strong. And that comes with the A1298c mutation. It can also come from an active CBS mutation driving this too high and just putting too much strain on the cycle. So even if you don't have an A1298c mutation, if you have an active CBS mutation or any pathogen driving ammonia up, we can still have these issues with the urea cycle. And then the ammonia goes up. And then what happens is not only is that contributing to brain fog, anxiety, but so is the lack of neurotransmitters being produced. So we can see like a lot of apathy because dopamine can be low. We can see depression, anxiety, migraines. All of these can be caused by anything that's driving up ammonia, but the A1298c really plays a role. Now, I have the A1298c mutation, and when I many years ago, when I was still doing fad diets, which I don't do anymore, I really believe in, what did we eat 100 years ago? Let's get rid of toxins. Let's eat clean. No fad, carnivore, keto, all of these things that just really stress the body and really drive sulfur up. But I did try high fat paleo at one time, and I almost killed myself because my ammonia levels, my sulfur levels were going so high. I wasn't eating enough carbs. I was doing all of the sulfur vegetables, getting in tons of eggs, which at that time I didn't also realize that if you get eggs farm fresh, like that day, the sulfur content is lower. And so I was eating store-bought eggs, which are, or even from the farm, which were old eggs. And it just drove my sulfur up. And it actually was a contributing factor to IC that I developed, and very significant mental health issues came along with this. So C677T is going to drive homocysteine up. You definitely want to avoid folic acid. You want to get a bigger picture of what's going on to determine, do I need methyl donors? Do I have a COMT mutation? Do I have MAO mutations? What does my brain need? And to determine supplements for C677T. And then for A1298c, it's all about lowering sulfur, not going no sulfur, but there's very specific foods you want to avoid in high amounts, and you also need to detox ammonia. Now, the caveat to that, and why I'm not going to tell you how to do it, is if you went and did that today, you would be, it's not fun. You would not like me, and you would likely be very ill if you just jumped to ammonia detox. So when I design a protocol for my clients, it starts with basic nutrients to support neurotransmitters and to support the body's deficiencies, and to then slowly start working on detox pathways as a whole. But ammonia detox is at the bottom, like the very bottom of my foundation protocol when I'm looking at oats, genetics, and blood work. So it goes last, and trying to put it first is going to cause all sorts of detox issues. You're going to start dumping. You're going to feel terrible. You definitely do not want to go to a quick low sulfur diet, like just start cutting out all your sulfur. You will dump, you will feel terrible. So it is a slow process to detoxify ammonia. It can take up to a year or longer to do it safely and properly. If you are looking to, learn to analyze these labs on your own, you can go and grab my book. It goes over how to safely detoxify ammonia. It goes over the foundation labs and what to add in first, and then the ammonia detox and the diet that you follow. So you can definitely do that on your own. If you are looking for a practitioner, you can check out my website, sgintegrativehealing.com. And if you really love these labs and learning about methylation and learning about all the other functional labs out there and putting the puzzle together, I also have the Integrative Healing Academy, where you can learn to be your own practitioner and you can run yourself and your family through the program. So hopefully that was helpful. The moral of the story is, don't go by A1298c or C677T alone. Get other labs, see a bigger picture, and then when you start to implement these things into your protocol, when you start adding your supplements, make sure you are doing things very slowly, because if your homocysteine is high or if your ammonia level is high, you need to start slow, because dumping will happen, detox will happen, and you can actually get quite ill. A lot of people think that detox reactions are good or Herx reactions are good. They are not good. Healing should be very slow, and you should allow your body to do it at its own pace and say, hey, here are some tools, and go ahead and use that, but don't force it on your body and expect yourself to feel good or even continue. A lot of people, when they just go by MTHFR alone, one, they start adding supplements that are not right for their body because they haven't seen the full picture, and then they get worse. Or people are getting a full picture and they go too quickly and then they get worse. And so we want to really slow it down, get the full picture, and then allow the body time to heal and use the tools that we're giving it.